Okay, so welcome to FlappyBird Part 2. We are, uh, remember last webinar, we were able to create this bird object, respond to our keyboard, space key gets it to flap, and well, it's always flapping, but it gets it to fly, and we can have these directionals to go back and forth. So the objectives today is to create um, some tube objects like you see in Flappy Bird, so it gives us some obstacles to maneuver around. And we also want to create a worm class and a worm object that will be how we win the game. If we can get through the obstacles and catch the food, catch the worm, we will win the game. So to get started, I'm going to create a tube class, and I want to reiterate how to bring in an image into a scenario. So first, let me make sure this is where my game is saved. Okay, so I'll remember that. And whenever I go to, let's say, just find a Flappy Bird tube. All right, so I'm going to get one that's just a single tube. Let me see if I can find that. Oh, well, the very first one. Yeah, I guess that'd be the best one. So, I thought there was, I don't know if this is, yeah, I think it's going to be good. So, we will save this image to that folder where, so let's go back, this is where mine is, Greenfoot Games, and this is the bird project. So it has to be in your images folder. If it is in your images folder, then whenever you create an actor subclass called tube, should be here at the bottom. Now I don't know if it's got that back. Oh, here's the old image. So let me see if I can use it. It might not be in there anymore. Nope, not there. Oh, well, let's see. Maybe it is. Okay, so here's a tube object. So it was from previous, and I think the other one is going to have that black background. I'm not sure. Way too big and got the black background. Alright, so let's set the image to that one, PNG. Okay, so if I reset, this is what our tube object looks like. Okay, so it is an object, just like a bird is. It's not going to do as much as a bird, but it is an object. So it has an X coordinate, it has a Y coordinate, it has an image, it has a rotation, which would be set to east right now. But these are all properties built into Actor. So let's go into tube. One thing I'm going to do is flip the image as well. So I want to have like what I'm shooting for is like a tube up here and a tube down here that the bird will have to fly through. Okay, so I guess I could do that. Well, yeah, we could do it in the world. So first, let's start by, right now in our world class, we just have the bird in the middle of the world. So I'm going to add a tube T1, and I'm going to do T1 equals new tube, and I'm going to just set this maybe 500 and, well, 400. If you see here, 400 is the lowest Y coordinate on the world, so it's going to be at the very bottom. Yep, that's kind of what I was thinking was going to happen. So what happens is actually the middle of this image is at the Y coordinate 400. So actually half of the image is not even shown. So what I'll need to do is bring this up some. Okay, and what I'm going to do also is rotate this image, mirror it horizontally, and put that tube So let me try that and put that tube up at the top. So I'm going to have another tube. Okay, initialize it. There are no fields, so we don't have to give it any kind of characteristics. It's just the standard initialization. And I'm going to put this one for right now at the same X coordinate, and I'll put it at the top. So what I know is going to happen is, so let's, before I do that, let's do t2.getImage.mirror horizontally. Okay, so this gets the image, and that's going to mirror it horizontally. So exactly, actually, that maybe it's mirror vertically. I was thinking, reflect about the horizontal line, but maybe this is it. Yep. Okay. So mirror vertically actually mirrors it up and down. So that's the way that's worded there. So I want to bring these out some. And so this is not where they are. If I reset it, they go back down. Okay. So I'd have to change their XY, their starting XY coordinate in the world class in that constructor. But what I want to do right now is just see if I can kind of, I think it's going to be too small. Yeah, it's going to be too small. So right now the tubes don't stop the bird. We want to try to do that. But yeah, it's going to be too small of a window. So I guess one thing we could do is just shorten them up. We could shrink the image of tube. Or we could just kind of put them like where I said originally, like at 0 and 400. So where only half of the tube shows up, and really the part that's hidden is just the base of the tube. So let's see if I can get through this. It's paused. Let's see if I can get through this. Yeah, I think we can. So it might be close, but I think we can do it there. So let's actually, so we can reset it. Yeah, it's pretty much what we want. So that's actually too high or too much space, but I think it'll work. It'll just make it a little bit easier, and that's probably good for me. So I will back them out a little bit to the left. So instead of 500, let's give ourselves a little bit of room. Let's go like 400 for both of them. Probably 450 actually. So 450, 450. Okay. Oh. Alright, that is 300. That's the bird. T1, 450, 450, and the Y coordinate, yeah, 0 and 400. So now we have our initial board, and what we want to do is first, let's see that we can get through here without touching it, because what we're about to do is to, yeah, it's pretty easy actually. Okay, so what we're about to do is to get the tubes to actually knock the bird back, essentially to the left. So I'm going to drag them out some. So let's do Y coordinates. Instead of 400, let's do 350, and instead of doing 0, let's do 50. Well, that might be too hard. Let's meet in the middle. Let's try like a 25. So let's do 375, which is just going to bring it up 25 pixels up from the bottom, and then this is going to bring the image 25 pixels down from the top. Because remember, the top row is row 0, and the bottom row would be row 399, or essentially 400. Okay, so yeah, I think that's more doable there. All right, so that's going to be our original setup. So now what we want to do is go into Tube and actually have Tube interact with the bird. So we could do this in Bird, and I guess it'd be just as easy, really, as long as they can interact with each other. So in the act method, I am first going to call this method, which we called with the shooter class. If you saw the shooter webinar, we called the get1 intersecting object, which the parameter that it accepts is the class that you are intersecting. So if I put actor right there, it would just give any actor that you were touching. I want it specifically to be a bird, so we'll call it like that. So the way that this method works is if you are intersecting a bird object, it will return that, and then you can refer to that as A. If it is not touching a bird, because remember, act gets continuously called like hundreds of times a second. So if you're not touching a bird, this actually gives you null. So if you try to do something with A, like set its location or anything like that, and it was null, you would get a null pointer exception. Okay, that from the very first call of act, because you wouldn't be touching a bird, then you would try to get that actor to move back, and you would get null pointer. So I will first make sure that it is. So I said if A is not null, meaning I am touching a bird, because if you're not touching a bird, A is just null. That's the way this object works. It either returns a reference to a bird object or gives you back nothing or null. Okay, so if it's not null, then I'm going to take, now I have A, which would be the bird, and I'm going to do A.set location. Remember, the set location takes it, you can't set an X, you can't set a Y, you can set a location, and set location accepts an X and a Y. So I could take the X coordinate, and let's subtract 4 from that. Same Y coordinate. So what happens here is the bird, whenever it hits the tube, is just going to X coordinate or X location or X coordinate is going to get pushed back to the left 4. So it's going to look like this. So that's alright, I didn't mean to do that. Let's see. Okay, so A.set location. If I call get X, then that is going to be the X coordinate of the tube object. So what's happening is the bird is actually going under the tube. So what I want to do is get the X coordinate of A being the bird, and get the Y coordinate of A. So I'm going to set the location of A to be its current X coordinate minus 4 and its current Y coordinate. So let's try it again. So now just kind of I'm hitting the right button, okay, and up here as well. Anytime you're trying to get to, you can't go through a tube now, so it just kind of pushes you back. Now what I can do, hopefully, notice even if you hit a tube from the bottom, still have that same code. You can see this in games that happens something like this, like Mario, hitting it from this side, and that's what happens. So eventually I'll be able to navigate through here. Seems about right. Oh, a little harder than I thought. Oh, there we go. like no man's land.